welcome to Lathe and Loom podcast. My name is Cher. This is a mainly knitting focused podcast, but I do a little dabbling in spinning, dyeing, weaving, and currently some machine knitting as well. So you'll have glimpses of that in different episodes. So for today, I'm filming towards the end of January. I have 3 finished objects and 1 work in process. And then I'll just talk a little bit about some of the other things that I have been up to. I've got some other vlogs sort of mid-filming that I'll give you a little bit of a heads up on kind of what's coming there and some things that'll be coming in the next couple of episodes. So if you want to grab a project and a beverage of your choice, depending on the time of day where you are when you're viewing, we'll take another half hour or so and kind of work through things here. Hope everyone who celebrated the holidays had a nice holiday and have a good start into the new year. It's been very cold here in North Carolina, but today on the way home it was like 65, so I thought I could actually film downstairs. It's actually a little bit earlier than I typically get home. It's usually dark, so it's been part of my struggle with getting a podcast filmed, but I had a little bit of light left, so I hope this will be all right. Will say that some of the clips I am learning to use a new gimbal for my phone. Some of them are better than others. Hang in there. I will get better at it, I hope. And I hope it gives me the opportunity to bring you a little more ad hoc video, kind of going a little bit more of a vlog style on some things to kind of take you along through the fun of the many projects. What I'm drinking today. I'm drinking an afternoon cup of berries tea. We had it at a couple of the bed and breakfasts we stayed at in Ireland this past spring, and at the last one they gave me some samples and we figured out where to order it in the US, or order it into the US, and so it's my new favorite. I'm not big on flavors or herbals or whatever. I just like a good super strong black tea. So my first finished object is a pair of socks. So here we've got, and these I did on my circular sock machine. So you'll see, and so that means they were done cuff down. I did go back and pick up and hand knit the ribbing just as a change of pace. And I tried something a little different here. I changed the stitch gauge a little bit on the leg, so I'm trying to kind of learn to customize for a taller sock. So I'm super pleased with how this came out. See if I noted the yarn on my project page. Oh, that's a good reminder. So you can find me on Instagram here and on Ravelry here. I do put show notes and they are down below. So in that you will find where you can reach me via email and also a link to my Ravelry project page. That was the 4th take on that. Anyway, you'll find that down below, and then I will try to insert a couple of chapters here just to help speed things along if you're looking for something in particular. I had a new viewer. I should have looked up your name. I'm so sorry, but they found me looking for a video for the Stornoway sweater. So I do try to put relevant hashtags and the project information so that you can find things if you want to look back to any of my projects. I probably should go back and try to link episodes in my Ravelry projects. Let me know if you would find that interesting and or helpful, but for now. So these socks were, no, I did not put the, I do know it is, I think it's active yarn and the colorway is whiskey. So it's just a fun variegated. And then the gold was a mini skein from Richmond Hill Yarns. Rich Hill Yarns out of Richmond, Virginia. And I believe the colorway is the Jefferson for the gold here. This is one of my favorite colors lately. Can't figure out. I have not used this camera in a while. Can't figure out where to hold stuff. Sorry about that. Anyway, so I think they have a real nice fit, and I'm super happy with them. And I actually was looking for them the other day. I'm like, what did I do with those socks? And I realized I had put them to share with you all. So I have actually not worn them. So they were finished back in December, I believe. Yeah. I started them on December 7th and finished them on December 8th. So super quick on the knitting machine, or the sock machine. I have a Erlbacher Gerhardt Speedster, and really kind of a goal this year to do at least one pair a month on them. That'd be nice if I did more. I have too many projects and not enough free time. I'm sure many of you can relate. So, but that is the first project. The second project I have is I have done a second Stalk and Pip Beret. I believe I posted my first one on the last video, so I did not bring it up. Here's a photo of that. I know I had it in a December vlog at least. And on that one, I love this pattern. The pattern is by Ailbíona McLochlainn, and it was published in September 2020. For this version, what I have used is I had a DK weight, or Highland DK from Wool to Die For. So non-superwash Highland wool. And I dyed it to try to mimic some of the color that I dyed in my Slice of Sunshine shawl that I did. This is a gift knit. I've got a little bit of a vlog that I'm going to share separately on kind of a little bit of going along doing the dyeing for this, as well as I am currently knitting a Simple Thing scarflet. So I will have a separate video vlog just kind of that project, but did want to share the finished object with you today. So I just love the lines this creates. It is such a fun and relaxing pattern. It has for my final finished object for this episode. I am super excited to share my completed traveler hoodie. Yay! I feel like I should have such a celebration with this pattern. It was a really enjoyable knit. So I wanted to just sort of walk you through. I actually started this April 28th. Now it did not take me, and I cast it off. Wow, I did not even update my progress. I finished it, this is terrible, this past Saturday. So what was that, the 22nd? I had it in hibernating different periods. I had actually originally cast it on and then I got into a test knit, and then I really wanted to get it done for our trip to Switzerland in August, September. Obviously that wasn't going to happen. Kind of got on the back burner, I think, with another test knit, so different things. But it's been a nice project where I'd kind of do a section and pick it up and put it back and kind of, just sort of work through it. I did just get to the point where I really wanted the sweater. I wanted to get it done. But it's a pretty relaxing knit. It has it's an easy repeat to remember, but when you're doing anything, if you're working flat, which you do in a number of areas, you have to kind of pay attention because you're going between it. It's a garter and stockinette texture, as you can see from the from the design. It has really pretty details. I'm so proud of, like, look how the hood, by the way, that's a ton of knitting. If you don't like to purl, this is not a project for you, I would imagine. A lot of purling. I don't mind purling at all, but it just, she just, you know, when you think about the work that goes into the pattern design, has this very pretty casing for the I-cord. I opted to put a little touch of color on the cuffs and the hem just to kind of match with the drawstring. When you think about the amount of work that, you know, goes into the sizing on these, and then to have these nice details where, you know, the seams just line up, you know, really nicely on the sleeves, and they line up really nicely on the hood, and really, really pleased with that. I enjoyed doing the casing. It was a little bit of a new technique. I actually, and I'll share this clip here in a minute, I actually did it slightly different, and I'll explain that in a second. But let me tell you about, so I used Rama Phenol Garn. The colorway was 4130. Not even gonna pronounce what's on the what's showing up here. It's not on the ball band that way, just the color. And I knit. I don't have my notes here. Actually, let me go to I use Knit Companion. I just haven't apparently transferred all of these notes to it. I often have to use a different needle size than Andrea Mowry does, and I want to make sure. No, actually, look, so it's interesting. I did swatch for this. I should have brought my swatch up. I did swatch for this. I think I've shared it on a prior episode. The instructions in the project do talk about that the stitch pattern will grow, and it does. And I did take a before and after video of the pre and post blocking. I knit the size 5, which is says it should be 54 inches at the full bust. My upper bust is about 43. This was supposed to have 6 inches of positive ease, so for me, the upper bust was a size 4, would have been a size 4 to get about 6 inches of positive ease. My full bust is 48, so 6 inches of positive ease would be a 54. I used, I don't know, actually I don't see whether I cast on with the smaller size of the top. I often do. I think in this case I was not sure. 1, 2, 3. No, I didn't. I cast on with the size 5 because you cast on, it's a bottom up pattern. And I really didn't, I thought, well, it's oversized anyway. It's probably going to be okay. You can see, I'll insert some photos here of me wearing it, or I've done that along maybe. You know, it is a big oversized sweater, so I thought it would be fine that way. It also is quite cropped. I believe I knit, so my pre-blocking swatch, I got 25.5 stitches and 47 rows, and post-blocking I got 21.5 stitches and about 43 or 44 rows. So it did grow quite a bit in length. So I tried to be mindful of that and follow the pattern guidance pretty much. So she talks about how much you would expect it to grow. I actually cast it on twice. The first cast on I thought was a little bit snug. I did cast on with a provisional cast on, and I did over multiple stitch savers and used the size 6 numbers, and then I reduced back to size 5. After the first pattern section is the notes that I wrote. I don't actually remember if I ended up doing that or not, but I think what I did was just, there was something I had done wrong. I'm not very good at doing that that cast on, so for the tubular cast on. But no, it definitely says I knit 3 repeats and then I reduced to the size 5. So I just wanted to, I probably, because it actually does not go over my hips, that was unnecessary. But that's what I did. And if you want it longer, that's one way you might handle that. I knit the body to 8 inches, and then everything else I must have followed the pattern. I don't see any other remarkable notes in there. So yeah, so I am like just really happy, really glad to have it off it's just too big to even, you can't even see it well. The casing, so what I'll insert here is a little clip of how I worked the casing. So Andrea Mowry has a very good tutorial of the way that it's written in the pattern. And I did that a little bit similarly, but I just found it kind of clunky, so I used a crochet hook, and that sped things along quite a bit. I also used one of the I-cord tools to do the I-cord. I don't mind knitting the I-cord, but it was a fun excuse to buy a new little toy, so I did, and I'm happy with that. You can see the casing finish here. So I will go ahead and insert the clip of how I did that here, and then we'll move on to my prioritized work in progress, shall we say. All right, so I wanted to pop in and take a little moment to show you I am in the last stages of the Traveler hoodie. This is a pattern by Andrea Mowry of Drea Renee Knits. You're probably familiar. So I am so excited about getting this one off the needles. It's been, I mean, I'll probably talk about it more in the full episode, but it's been a relaxing knit. So although I am ready to be done with it. So I'm to the part of enclosing the I-cord into the casing here. And this is a paid for pattern, so obviously I'm not giving any pattern away, but Andrea Mowry does have a really good tutorial on her YouTube channel of how she is enclosing that. And I would never presume to say that I know a better way. I just found it a little clunky, and I suspect it's because, if I'm remembering correctly, like it looked to me, I mean, she has very good flexibility in her knitting style. So I am a continental knitter. I learned English, but I don't know, a few years ago, taught myself continental. I actually can't throw anymore. Like I try on, sometimes I've tried on color work, and it's just, it's really difficult for me to switch back. And my purl, I do Eastern style. So you'll notice when you're looking at my knit stitches, because I was doing stockinette, that I have, that they look twisted, but I'm aware of that, and I just know to compensate for it. So anyway, so I started it last night, and I kind of thought, okay, it's late. I mean, it was late, and I'm tired, so it's probably not a good time. But as I, and you, as you will see in her video, and I'll try to do a quick little show, you know, what she's showing, but please, this is just my learning and sharing. I am not, I would not call it a tutorial. Just, you know, information as you wish, right? And she is knitting it similar to a 3-needle bind off, you'll see. But I just found it a little clunky, so I will do some close-up of little of what I ultimately am working to do, and I'm finding it much faster and easier for me. So just, you know, if the need arises, I think it could have a lot of applications as well. So we'll just. So what we have here And you can see what we're doing is we're encasing back to the beginning, I'm almost done, the I-cord into this casing. And as written, what you have is, get this back on the needle. You would be, just ignore my extra little, I'll explain that in a minute. You would be picking up a stitch of live stitch, and you're going back, and you know, if I didn't have that in there, what you're doing is you're picking up, you know, the purl bump, the one on the top, right, in each stitch, which on my yarn, this is very sticky Rama garn, Rama Phenol garn. So it's definitely, they're not big stitches. I mean, I can see them, but like just making sure I was getting the next stitch was a little bit, which is, will explain why I've got that other cord in there. But anyway, you would go in, you would pick up one of the purl bumps and knit your stitch. Take that one off. Oops, sorry. I'll do that again. Not quite used to where that camera is. Anyway, so what you would do is go into your live stitch, pick up your next purl bump. I feel like I'm a stitch off there, to check that. And then knit. Of course, doing on camera. All right, so what you would do, pick up your live stitch off your needle, come back, pick up your purl bump, knit that off. Anyway, I was just finding, and then you would bind off. I was just finding that very clunky. So what I did, it occurred to me if I used a crochet hook, maybe, you see this in bind off method, that might be a little bit easier. And so I started with pick up the live stitch. I went ahead and threaded, and I'll show you how I did that, some sock, a little bit of waste yarn into my purl bumps. I just went in from the bottom of each so that I can very easily pick up that next purl bump, pull it down, pull it through and off, and then bind off. So then I thought, well, that was working pretty well. This needle is still a bit clunky. Maybe I could actually just put a thread through my live stitches. So I've just threaded that on through, pull off a few of these, kind of get that needle out of the way, and do it all with the crochet hook. And this, and I do have a stitch marker kind of just holding that cord, you know, loosely in a few inches up. And so as I'm going along, I'm just popping in one of the live stitches, popping in the stitch off the back. It's always harder when you're on camera. It actually is going quite fast. And then pulling through all three, which essentially is knitting the two and doing the bind off. And so moving that quickly along. I just found much easier to do. The live stitch, occasionally you're going to get it, it's going to want to close up on you, but and this is actually just a stitch fixer crochet hook. It's not really crochet, I just want to stitch for it. And then what I'm doing every, inch or two, I'm going ahead and pulling that waste yarn out and then threading it back along to finish up. So I'm hoping this is recording okay for you. That just is sliding right out. Just thought it was worth trying to show you what I have found to be effective, and I think it's got a very nice finished edge, nice finished casing, and it definitely has speeded up how quickly I'm able to do that. So I'm down to the home stretch and should be able to show you the finished product on the next full episode. So I don't imagine this needs any demonstration, but just to kind of show you how I've threaded those along, I just run in the one in the front where I'm pulling the needle out, just run it along my cord there. And pulling that through. I will, when I'm done filming, actually just take this all the way to the end since I'm so close. I initially left it in case it didn't work as I thought. So that's that one. And I'm just using it's kind of a short piece, so I'm just moving it along, pulling it down as I go. And then for the back, again, I don't have that long a piece, so I'm just sort of pulling it, leaving it a bit hanging out. So in the back, I'm just taking that and going. So here's the last purl bump. Going in those upper, frown, smile, frown. So I'm going in the frowns. And stitching it along. And if you're not working through a camera lens around the back, this is quite quick. Just doing it sort of loosely. Again, really sticky yarn, so I'm having to, just kind of make sure I'm not doing it. But honestly, and it may be the dark yarn just makes it a little more challenging. I'm moving that along, so I'll just finish that up and then continue on, and we are almost ready to call this project a wrap. I'm so excited. So, yeah. great. Well, hopefully that is helpful for you if you're either looking to make that pattern or if you have some other pattern you want to do a casing on. I did find it a little bit less fiddly and quite a bit easier. So now to move on to works in progress. So I do have a few works in progress, which I could probably list, but as I tend to do, I'm getting towards the end on a few projects and some things that I really want to focus on. So currently my focus is going to my Saglan pullover. This is a pattern by Ailbíona McLochlainn. I believe I introduced this in the last episode, but I'll give you a little bit of the highlights. I did elect to use a slightly different gauge. I am using, for my needle A, I'm using a US 6 4mm. And then for needle B, I'm using 3.5mm US 4, and needle C, a US 2 2.75mm, and that has different places in the patterning. When I did not gauge swatch, but I went ahead and cast on, and the fabric, I would have had to go down a needle size, and I was already, I was using the size 6, and which I think is that maybe the called for. I guess I could tell you what the called for needle is. I'm not explaining this very well at all. Actually, it's a US 7, and I'm using a 6 because I'm a fairly loose knitter. To go down another needle size, and then the subsequent needles to go down correspondingly, my fabric is already pretty stiff and not inappropriately so. I think for the yarn I'm using, it's going to be a nice, good wearing, warm pullover. But I didn't want to go down to any tighter because it's already a little bit stiff in my hands knitting it. So I used Knitty McPurley. She has on her website, and I'd seen on one of her episodes, the gauge switcheroo worksheet, which, I mean, like, I can do the math, but it's just a really nice worksheet to kind of really walk you through. So I have ended up, I am knitting the size 3 because of my gauge, and I'm getting a really nice fit with it. I'm doing there's a couple of different options in this pattern. I wanted the big cowl neck, and I wanted the big or the A-line shaping to the body, just to give it a little bit of it's sort of like this relaxed military fit. It's got a lovely thing. I am using Donegal, Blarney Woollen Mills Donegal Tweed, and this is pure new wool from Donegal, Ireland. So there's that. And this pretty, I think it's looking a little more red than it actually is. It's a rusty, maybe that's a little more, still looks a little bit red to me. But it's, I mean, it's toothy, but it's not prickly. It almost has a look, if you look up close, it almost looks like a singles, but it does have it is a 2-ply. And all these lovely little tweedy bits. So I really love the yarn. And here is where I am. So I did the cast on. She has a really nice, it's sort of a modified raglan. But I mean, you almost, I guess it would be called a modified raglan. But you do get this very nice see if I have it on the back. You actually, it's kind of got it's a saddle shoulder type raglan. So here's the line got here. So it's a very interesting construction. It was fun to knit, very engaging. I knit down, I don't know, about to here. I think when I ran on the first ball, I cast on the neck because there's a lot, it's 6 inches of ribbing. And I did block it like I blocked it about here, and that's where I checked my gauge. And the fabric does soften up quite a bit with blocking, which is nice and kind of gave me a good, to move forward. It is much softer. So right now this is sticking up quite a bit more than it probably will. Hopefully it'll lay a little more for that cowl neck, but I also could, fold it up or down as well. But I went back and started that, and then I started on the body, so I could kind of go back and forth between, because the neck is worked on the US 2, so that is really tight. She does give you instructions on when you can maybe go to a bigger needle size in the neck if you want to, and I did do that just to give my hands a little bit of a relief. And so I kind of just went back and forth, a little bit of body, a little bit of the neck, and like I said, I've been doing some other projects in between, so but I'm enjoying this one now. So I finished the neck off this week. That's been my focus. I will get to, I want to put about 2 more inches on the body, and then I have 4 inches, I think it is, of ribbing. So I'll probably go back next and pick up the sleeves, and I'm thinking I will knit the sleeves minus the ribbing and the body minus the ribbing, and then block it and kind of get a good sense for how everything's laying, and then go back and finish the ribbing on it. So really happy with that. With the pattern. The pattern's very well written, good instruction, or good amount of detail, but not over amount of detail. I did find that with the Traveler, that, I think Andrea Mowry writes wonderful, detailed, very accessible patterns. My first knit was the Weekender, and I was glad to have all of the detail in there. I will say, for me now, this pattern, the patterning, that texture patterning on the Traveler, like once I knew it, I didn't really want to have to go this row, this row, this row. And when I got to the hood, I'm like, okay, well, I have to do X many short rows. It doesn't ever say like do 20 short rows. I'm just throwing a number out there. It gives you like row by row. So I actually kind of had to like map it out, knowing what the pattern was, and go, all right, I'm going to get to about here. I don't mind having the detail in there, but it would have been nicer to have said, or, X short rows on each side or something like that. But then when I got to do the second or third section of the short rows for the hood, it occurred to me like those need to match up. So I did actually do that last section kind of row by row. I knew I was okay on the others because I knew how it should fall out, and I had, which section of the texture you're in. That's probably making 0 sense, but anyway, there's reasons for that too. But I think it could have been a little bit easier for an experienced knitter to just have kind of a benchmark of where you're heading with it. Would just be my only recommendation, but not a complaint. It is a wonderful pattern. I love it. I cannot imagine right now I'm knitting another one. It's just a lot of knitting. But I could see in the future, possibly. I think it probably will become one of a favorite. I wore it yesterday. It's dressy enough I could kind of get away in a casual work situation. And it's very warm. I think it's going to do exactly what I want. The hood on a plane is going to be wonderful. I'm not typically a hoodie person, but it feels kind of dressy and nice. So I can see one day, although I don't expect the Ramagarn to wear out, but it will be, hopefully it'll be around a long time to come. So that is primarily what I wanted to share with you today. Let me think if I got everything. So what else have I been up to? we were really lucky. Our son and daughter-in-law to be hosted Christmas, so I didn't have to do any of that, which was lovely. Had a lovely time. Our daughter joined us and her mom, so that was a lot of fun. I did get a lovely, lovely new acquisition for Christmas. So I think I have a photo here. This is my new spinning wheel. This is a Magicraft Little Gem. I have a Kromsky Symphony wheel, and I go to knit group every month. It's really knit and spin group, and I just really wanted a wheel I could take. I love my Symphony, but it's not a portable wheel, not at least not in my car. And so I really was very surprised. I'd asked for it, but I was very surprised because I had no inkling that it was coming. They pulled it out from behind the tree Christmas morning. It sets up really easily, folds up really easily. I can carry it on my shoulder. Scott, Mr. Lathe and Loom, and my daughter worked with Jen of Whispering Pine Farms. She is a certified Magicraft dealer, and which is kind of how I got introduced to it. And she helped play Santa there, so that was a lot of fun. It's a little bit of a different treadling motion, but got the hang of it, after a few minutes. And I have been really spinning quite a lot. So I'm going to share all that on a different episode. What I've decided is what I was spinning as a sample is a little bit of Jen's Shetland, fine Shetland wool that she had sent me from this year's clip, or this year's mill spun roving, or mill processed roving. It wasn't obviously spun. So I'd done that as a sample, and then I pulled out some roving I had from, I think, 2020, and I have been working on that. So it's spinning really, really nicely. I feel like I'm getting a good kind of figured out where I want to do for spinning that Shetland. So it's going to probably be my dedicated Shetland wheel, and I can take it with me to knit and spin group and do some processing, do some spinning, do some knitting. So I'm really excited about that. But it also sits very easily in the family room. So I've been spinning quite a way. I've got a really nice braid that my daughter bought me for Christmas. That is some Falkland. So I'm spinning that now, and I'll kind of post that once I get that done. So having a lot of fun kind of doing a little more spinning there. I am about an inch away from finishing the towels on my loom, and I'm going to say that here because before the next episode, I need them off of the loom. We've been talking about those forever. So I'm going to have a little bit of an accountability to myself to get that done. I actually had a challenge from one of the members of the Knit and Spin group, so definitely want to have that done before the February meeting. I'm also been working on my knitting machine. I was introduced to the knitting machine online community that is run by Nick and Steve Corrigan, and kind of was further, I was kind of on the fence about it, and then I had commented on Melina Burrell's, one of her posts, and she had referred me again. I kind of decided to take the plunge in January, so I have been working on getting my knitting machines that I was graciously gifted, both a standard and a bulky gauge machine. So my standard gauge is up and running. I got the ribber on it. I'm just waiting on one piece sponge bar replacement. But I am working on a baby blanket on that, so I'll share a little bit more of that maybe on a coming episode and some clips. And then interestingly, in the community, this year, the monthly project is 12 months of hats, or a year of hats, or something like that. I'll put it here. So that'll be fun, have discrete projects and learn different things along the way. So I'm really excited to do more learning on the knitting machine and figure out how to, I think they call it hybrid knit. So what pieces of things would I always do by hand? I mean, I don't ever see not doing anything by hand because that's just an enjoyment for me, and coming up and sitting on the machine and being up here in the bonus room. Like that's a different activity to me than sitting downstairs and chatting and knitting. So I don't think that will ever replace hand knitting, but I do see, you know, I did on my red panda sweater, I machined the front. It was just stockinette, like it's a perfect use. So I'd like to see how you hybrid those two things together. So I think look for more content on that really as I sort of explore that myself. Whether I'm brave enough to self-draft patterns, I don't know, will remain to be seen, but I think right now it's a lot of fun. So on the baby blanket, I'm doing a center square. I haven't, the vision is to do it sort of like a hap shawl. So and referencing this hap shawl that I did a few years ago is kind of what I had in my mind. It will be in South Carolina Gamecocks colors because that is really, really big there. So I have ordered in some yarn from Knit Picks. I'm using the Stroll Tweed, which fits nicely on my machine. Got that tip after watching Engineering Knits do her dress, and she had used this on her standard gauge machine. It's really nice fingering weight. This is Garnet Heather is the main color that I'm using. This is 65% superwash merino, 25% nylon, and 10% Donegal tweed. And then I've got a dark, dark brown. I didn't want to do black for a baby, but it's a dark, dark, dark brown, and then a cream color. So I'll show you more as I get along with that. But what I'm going to do is the central square of the hap I'm doing on the machine, and I'm doing it if you're familiar with Grandma's Favorite Dishcloth, and it's sort of a corner to corner. You start like 3 stitches and you go to the middle and then you decrease. So I'm doing, that's garter, mine will be in stockinette, but just to give a little more interest to not having just a straight stockinette square. And so it's taken me quite a bit of time to figure out the right gauge, when to increase, when to decrease to get from the proper size. I think I've gotten it, and I was really proud of myself. I was able to map out my stitch pattern in, it's not Excel, what is it, Google Sheets, I think, and then put that into my Knit Companion, and then figured out how to make a text chart so that when I say next, it'll go to the next thing, because I'm not consistently, you increase, you'll knit a row, increase, and then you'll knit 2 rows and increase. And you would think that's very simple, but when you're doing that and trying to keep track of the increases, it was hard. And I didn't want to have to like write it on paper. Anyway, so I'm super proud that I figured out a little bit of a technology edge there. And so that's helping me along. And it goes along, once I sit down, it goes quite quickly. So I'm hoping probably over the next week or so, I'll get that, maybe 2 weekends from now, I'll have the center done. And then I'm going to hand knit the old shale border on it, similar to the other one that I did. So I think that'll be nice for, it would be nice for a baby blanket. And then I'm hoping that it's sized okay, that when it's not a baby blanket, or even while it is a baby blanket, that the mom and dad can use it as a shawl or a lap blanket as well. So we'll see how that goes. So more to come. I'm sure I'll have some vlog on that. So that's a little bit what's coming up and a little bit what I've been up to. I appreciate you spending some time with me. I wish you happy knitting, spinning, dyeing, and weaving. Bye, y'all.